two former models who've accused men associated with Jeffrey Epstein of sexual assault. Joining me now from Amsterdam is Tisha Huisman. The former Dutch model says she was sexually assaulted decades ago by a man who, prior to his death, was part of a French inquiry into sex trafficking and sexual assault allegations against Epstein. Also joining us from North Carolina is former Swedish model Ebba Karlsson. She says she was sexually assaulted by a man whose name has appeared over 1,000 times in declassified documents related to Epstein. He denies the allegation. Welcome to both of you to the show. Tisha Huisman, let me start with you. Let's go back to the summer of 1991. That's when you first met Jeffrey Epstein. You met him at a party in Paris. You were then an 18-year-old fashion model. What can you tell us about this first meeting with him?
It was at a party, and it was located at the apartment of my model agent, Jean-Luc Brunel. That's also the man who drugged and raped me. I met Epstein. There was this group of really old, rich guys from different nationalities. One of them was an American man. He introduced himself as Jeff. And around that group of men, there was this group of really young girls, and most of them were from Russia and other countries in Eastern Europe. And they were all really young, and I was barely 18, and the other girls seemed a lot younger. And they were all trafficked, they were all scouted by Jean-Luc Brunel, the model agent, to come to Paris. And there, you know, they were like sent to parties, sent to stay with these old men.
So Tisha, what was the relationship between your agent, Jean-Luc Brunel, and Epstein?
I think they were good friends. It was in 1991, so that's a long time ago. But I've been a witness to, you know, the trafficking of young girls. That was already back in 1991. It was happening. But I think back then they were just good friends. Yeah. And I remember that Epstein really, when we had a talk, he said like, it's really important that a man as Jean-Luc Brunel, who's an important model agent, that he sees potential in you and you have to use that to your advantage. That's what I remember from our talk.
And the models that Jean-Luc Brunel hired, where did they come from?
I think a lot of them, especially those young girls who were staying with the group of men, were all from Russia, countries like Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, so Eastern Europe and Russia.
Okay, Ebba Karlsson, good to have you with us. You are also a former model, and you filed a criminal complaint in France accusing a man, a modeling scout, of sexual assault and human trafficking after you recognized him from the Epstein files. You saw a photograph of him in there. His name appears more than 1,000 times in these declassified files. Could you tell us, how did you manage to identify him? And after all these years, are you hopeful you'll get justice?
Yes, absolutely. That's my intention here, of course. How I identified him was very much thanks to a French journalist and to Anthony Mansoui, who contacted me via our lawyer in Paris, Claire Lejeune. And he said, I think I found the scout that you wrote about in your book, because I published a book 2018 about my story, about my, it's like a memoir, and part of that was also this story about how I was trafficked and raped and violated. And so I didn't know for 36 years who this scout was. I knew he had a false passport because I had discovered his passport when I was traveling with him. And so at the time, you know, I couldn't charge him or prosecute him for anything because I didn't know who it was. So by the time that this journalist contacted me from Paris, he asked, can I send you some photos? And so he did, and I recognized him, and it was a shock. It was a great shock because for 36 years, you know, always thought he had a different name, and that was Daniel Goldberg. And it obviously wasn't. And I got so shocked he was in the Epstein files. But I wasn't really surprised because of what happened to me and the people he talked about. So, of course, I want justice, not only for me, but for all the survivors. And for the survivors out there, they still haven't got a chance to speak up. They're still living in fear of coming forward. And that also might be within the statute of limitations, because right now my case is, as you know, is not is prescribed. It's not valid for rape, but it is for human trafficking. So my hope is that as many women or boys, we don't know, but definitely women, models or not models, dare to come forward to speak up.
Yeah, this Scout's name is Daniel Seard, and just for the record, he has denied the allegations according to a report in a British newspaper. Now, Ebba, are you aware of any other models who were trafficked and abused in this way?
Yes, I am. Right now, I cannot tell you who they are, but I know there are more and more people coming forward to speak up. As far as I know, right now, of course, I'm the only one who has pressed charges against Danielle, and we still haven't had any justice served. So we are really expecting we expect that the authorities take charge and that they do a thorough investigation of this, and that all the accomplices that were related to Jeffrey Epstein, we're very grateful that media is, you know, supporting on this.
Right, you say you're hopeful that the authorities take charge. But are you also fearful that these very rich, very powerful men may be protected?
Well, we most likely, because otherwise we probably would have had justice already been served. But we have to keep, you know, with your help, with media's help and other organizations, we have to keep pushing. We have Victorious Angels, we're 16 survivors there, but we are going to keep pushing forward and demand that all the Epstein files are released, because it's, as we know, it's just 2%. So who knows what's going to be in those files, and it's crucial that we all demand this, because we have to protect women and children. These are children, and it's against human rights. So how can we allow these powerful people to continue this? It's just absolutely insane, in my opinion.
Tisha Huisman, you befriended Virginia Giuffre. She is now deceased. She's the woman who accused Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, I should say, of sexual assault allegations that he has denied. How important has Virginia been in exposing her Epstein connection and this scandal? And how would you describe your friendship with her?
Well, I think without Virginia, none of this would have been possible. You know, she led the way for Epstein survivors in general. And we met in 2021 in Paris because I was the first victim of Jean-Luc Brunel to come forward. And then she was, I think, number 12 or 13 that came forward. And because of her case, that was not without... outside the statute of limitation, they could arrest Jean-Luc Brunel, and that was in 2020. And 2021, she came to Paris, and she lives in Australia. So finally, we could meet in person, because we had been in contact a lot, but always online. And then we finally met, and it was a beautiful moment, because I was so thankful to her, like what she did, you know, that she sacrificed so much to get this whole scandal, you know, outside. And it was difficult for her because she was in the media, she was labeled a prostitute. And in the beginning, when she came forward about Prince Andrew, and she has always kept on fighting. So it's such a shame that she's not there and not here. And yeah, I'm really sad about it. But I'm also happy that it's finally happening. You know, that there's finally movement. But it's really great, a really good step forward that the files are open, are out there, at least a small part, like Ebba said, it's just a small part. But now we want arrest, we want accountability. It's not enough, that it's only out there.
Okay, Thysia Huisman, Ebba Karlsson, thanks to both of you for being with us.